Welcome back to the X Podcast. You're listening to Russ Moore. I am joined back here at the Long Putin Table by Jesse James, gunshot slinger of the West McCoy.
Oh, yeah.
Some extra adjectives on that one.
And Zachary, boy dad Brown.
Woo!
Woo! Do you want to tell us the name of your boy?
I will gladly tell you the name of my son, Griffin Gabriel Brown.
Love
Epic
the name.
Love it.
Epic name. Love the name. Do you want to clear up all the accusations?
Yeah, there's been a controversy that's been swirling. People have been claiming, person to my left,
whoa.
you're right,
No, you
depending
can't.
on if you're watching on the
Well,
screen.
you can't say person to your left and right. You have to say humanity in general.
Assumed that we named him Griffin for Gryffindor.
From Harry Potter.
From Harry Potter, yes. That did not come into the equation. Did not even consider that when we named him Griffin.
Are you sympathetic to the assumptions?
I mean, it's just another layer
Yeah.
of like, this fits like just our
persona.
family and different
Also,
things like that.
on Griffin's walls, true or false, is there not a Gryffindor symbol?
No,
There's not.
that's false.
Is there a Harry Potter symbol?
There is an item.
He's gonna be like, "What do you mean, a Harry Potter symbol?"
There is an item. There is an item from the books and the movies that is sitting on a shelf in his room.
There you go.
Hedwig the owl, Harry Potter's owl.
Hedwig the owl. Okay.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Yes.
And we are so excited for you and
Thanks.
Rebecca and the family. And we're back at this Putin table for a reason. I don't know what happened other than when we did this podcast with the three of us, it hit a nerve in a good way, apparently, because I don't know if I should be offended or excited. I don't know that, and I'm sorry, Pastor Tim, if you're watching this, but I don't know that I have ever had really anyone say, "Hey, that's my favorite podcast y'all have ever done." But I had multiple people text all of us, post, message, email, that was their favorite episode of X Podcast history.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't know that it's possible to bottle up lightning and make it strike twice, but we're going to have fun. Yeah, we're going to have fun. A couple shout outs I want to give just as way of introduction and segue is I want to give a couple shout outs. One to Megan, who emailed in, and it was a long email. I won't try to summarize all of it, but basically just said, "Hey, can I just say, wow, thank you so much for this episode." This was actually episode 145, one of the AI ones. And said, "This is the first time I've responded to one of your podcasts, but I've been listening to on and off for a year. I'm a mom of 2 toddlers." She goes on and she basically just says, "I enjoy that you give scenarios and use verbiage that is up to date in today's vernacular." And talked about how sometimes she says she has mom brain. She doesn't always have time to catch up with all the latest culture and current events and news. But I just thought this was really cool because sometimes, we talk about things we're like, who cares?
Right.
This obviously some of it's not super spiritual, but she says, "Thank you for framing what's going on in a way that builds hope. Everyone there on your team is so lovely and helpful and helps me through today's climate." I thought this was cool. She says, "You also raise great questions that we can talk about together, my husband and I, and it has helped us connect on a different level."
That's cool.
I think that's really cool.
That's awesome.
Part of us having these conversations is creating other conversations and framing how to have conversations. And you know what? If us talking about AI saves marriages, I'm down for it. I'm just kidding. But
I keep diving deep into AI too. It's
and then we've talked about this a few times. I just want to give one other quick shout out because we talk about taking the time to review, and we have a review that was left recently and from last month, and it says this: "X Church in general has been such a blessing to my family and myself, but the X Podcast is such cool insight to Tim, Russ, and other members of the staff and church. You really get the chance to hear their hearts and their personalities. Having leaders and friends that constantly challenge your heart and mind in healthy ways is so important and has helped me to grow so much as a person. The X Podcast has been one of many tools that have helped me grow in my faith and find who I really need to be in Christ. It's even inspired me to start my own podcast."
Okay.
10 out of 10. Love this group. So I won't say who this is that started their own podcast, but I will say that their handle is a crazy gun nut. So
you
I
go.
might have texted Mission Cryant and told him I appreciate the shout
go.
out. So Mission Cryant, I just want to say we see you. And if you haven't taken time yet to go to Apple, to go to iTunes and leave a review, it will take you 30 seconds, but it would mean the world to us. Do it now. All right. So for lightning to strike again, we're going to kind of set up.
Pow.
Well, I'm so sorry.
That was my sound effect.
Oh, wow.
I thought I said ka-chow, like
Ka-chow.
Lightning McQueen.
Okay, you know what? Not to skip ahead to hot takes, but
Lightning McQueen.
you know what I can't stand? You know, to me, one of the most annoying sounds beyond loud engines, which, man, I got some
boy.
text over that, and beyond Zach scraping his teeth with his fork.
I
which
almost
does-
brought a fork in.
Oh, my teeth are
I'm
hurting
so
even
glad
now.
you didn't,
Thinking
'cause
about it.
we cut the feed immediately.
Yeah, that, like, man, I don't know if the universe has a worse. It's worse than, honestly, like, nails on, I can't talk about it. Nails on chalkboard. Anyways, my teeth are going numb. But even worse is, you know that sound that's really popular right now? Bow, bow, bow.
Pow.
I hate that
Like the
sound.
DJ.
Look, yeah,
Yes.
DJ horn.
I hate that. I don't know why, but I do not like that sound.
Why?
That's weird.
Is it weird? Is
I
it?
mean,
Yeah.
Well, why is
I
that
feel
weird?
like that's pretty. This is a pretty normal sound.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that are normal but aren't helpful
Well-
and aren't
Well,
appealing.
this is true, but that one.
Oh, yeah, you wanna
you
play
gotta
it
play
in
that
the-
in the mic.
Oh.
yeah, here. This one.
Man, it just feels weird and perverted.
Okay.
I don't understand that.
So much
at
to say
all.
there, but we're just gonna move on.
We're going to move on. Okay, so let's go on. Kind of similar format to last time. We're going to do some hot takes. We'll do some lighthearted ones first. Go a little deeper. And then, I don't know, maybe, look, we barely scratched the surface of conspiracy. We barely put an ice pick in the iceberg that is Jesse's brain.
Oh,
You like that?
no. Please do not put an ice pick in my brain.
That metaphor went off the rails and became violent. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, and you get on me on my metaphors all the time.
Look, well, okay.
Well,
no,
you
I
make up metaphors.
Yeah, that's
No,
the
no.
difference. You make up metaphors.
No.
What was the one he did the other day?
Oh, I don't. There's
We were-
too many to count.
We were walking to a substation and he said, what was it? I can't think. He was just like, well, I got.
Instead of like if the cookie crumbles, like
Yeah, he'll say stuff like, "Yeah, that's what it's like when the cookie shatters," or "That's like what it's like when the brownie crumbles," or anyways, that's watch for it. Every time Zach says a metaphor, it's just slightly off.
Yeah.
It's just slightly off.
I just like to keep people on their toes.
And then you also do this thing where you will randomly throw in a big word, but I can see in your face you're trying it out. You're not really sure if it works.
Sometimes.
Yep.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to take a chance on a word.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta throw it into the ring, see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with lighthearted hot takes. Last time, Jesse James, you stole the gun show because you had 5 or 6. They were
Yeah.
really good. What we got this time?
And I brought 5 or 6 this time
Oh,
again.
Oh
Man.
Because I just started.
You are an
thinking,
overachiever with this stuff.
I don't know. And some of them, I thought, I'm like, what could be a hot take that makes you angry?
That makes me angry?
Yes.
Oh, no. I don't know if I'm
And
prepared
the
for this.
first
I've
one
not
right
had
off the bat,
coffee.
we've talked about this already, but everybody watching knows this is true. Condados is better than Torchies. Condados, way better. You've been hyping up Torchies for years and years. I finally had it last Friday, and I was underwhelmed.
Sorry.
Last week I made the statement that I didn't think cussing's that big of a deal, and right now, I don't know. I don't know what to say to you because Condados looks like it's going to be good when you see the menu, and it is
And then you order it.
overwhelmingly bland and has no taste.
I just
and
disagree.
even like Pastor Tim, who I love you, Pastor Tim, but not the biggest foodie person in the world, and everybody that we've talked to about this since then agrees that it is always painfully underwhelming. Torchy's, on the other hand, is like the pinnacle of chain tacos. Like, it is a chain that comes from Houston, which is
let me
like
tell
the
you.
hotspot of tacos, and everything you have there is absolutely amazing. Everybody who's taken there has said it's blown them away.
Hey, listen, I trust your food expertise 9 times out of 10, but Torchy's is from the devil because there's pitchforks everywhere.
Yep.
So
I
we should boycott.
I will say, I don't know if I can add to this because I've not been to Torchy's yet.
Oh my gosh.
But
Don't waste your time or your money.
Okay, please cut his mic.
no. What's the one here in Canal?
Local Cantina.
Local Cantina. I actually like local Cantina tacos better than Condado tacos.
Absolutely.
Disagree.
So
They're and
Local's good.
all that to say, local cantinas, they're good. They're not great, but they're
Condados are
definitely
better.
better than Condados.
yeah,
No.
tacos, they're definitely better than Condados.
Yeah.
Honestly, there was a 4-year-old the other day that kind of played around with half of a tortilla on the ground and threw some cheese in it, put it in the microwave. That was better than Condados.
Okay, all right.
And you ate that?
That story might not be real.
Yeah, what in
It's
what
like-
circumstance
like,
did
what?
any of that happen?
Because I'm pretty sure that's not true.
Okay, well,
All right. Similar to my
Oh,
first hot take.
I'm concerned.
Chips and salsa, overrated. Not that good.
Yeah, chips and queso for sure better.
Chips and queso, way better.
If you had chorizo,
And this is a hot
And
take,
some
especially with my
jalapenos.
wife, because her favorite food on the planet is chips and salsa. She says this all the time, and I don't get it.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah.
For plain foods, I definitely like it better than the pretzel popcorn
Well, I was
gum
going to say,
satanic trio.
you talked about that last time. But chips and salsa is, I view chips and salsa the way you view popcorn.
Okay.
Like, why?
Okay.
What's the point?
Yeah, I will say though, there is.
I'm not there.
It's not all created equally. Some places
That's
have
true.
it in those. And I will say, unlike popcorn, even though I do tend to agree with you, if it's in front of me at a Mexican restaurant, it's dangerous because just mindlessly,
Yeah.
it's just good enough that I will keep doing it.
Keep
I will
eating.
keep eating
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely will eat it, but it's definitely, like, I've never once in my whole life been like, I want chips and salsa.
Yeah. Now,
Never.
chips and guac, that's different.
chips and guac
Oh,
is
here's
amazing.
Here's a hot take I did
I
write
bet you
down.
don't like guac.
Guacamole is disgusting.
Oh,
my gosh,
okay.
Of course.
Guacamole
You're wrong on
is
that.
nasty.
No.
Next week he's going to tell us, and
no.
by the way, I've never tried guacamole.
Have you tried it?
I have.
Okay.
That's a fair.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, that's fair. But I have had guac more than once too, and from more than one place.
Okay. That's
Never
good.
liked it. It's gross. This one's going to really tick people off, especially Candle Charlie over here.
I love the alliteration.
the season fall is overrated. Fall not that great. Spring way better. Oh gosh, what's happening? Oh, I didn't know if he was going to hit me or hug me.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not even done. I knew Torches would make him mad. My last one's really going to make you mad.
Okay. Well, hold on. I got to respond to the fall thing.
This
First of all,
hurts your little Taylor Swift pumpkin spice latte heart.
That's my next one.
What?
Pumpkin spice lattes are disgusting.
Okay, I agree with you on that one.
Okay.
I disagree
all right.
with you on that one.
No,
Pumpkin spice
I don't do lattes, but
I don't think
Pumpkin
I don't think
spice
there's a
is
person on the planet
overrated.
that actually likes pumpkin spice lattes.
It's overrated.
People like to have a pumpkin spice latte.
Yes, it's overrated as a flavor, but it's a when in Rome drink in the fall, and that's why people like it so much.
yeah,
But
I'm between y'all on that. Like,
but-
I like it, but it's only a couple times because I don't do lattes typically.
the pumpkin
But it's
cream
good.
cold brew from Starbucks,
I like that.
that one's really good.
That's
That
good.
is good.
Now I will say, okay, let's talk about fall. Okay, now listen,
We're on the verge of fall.
I am an equal opportunist season lover. Okay,
This feels weird. Can we rephrase
What
that?
does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
it means I love all the seasons.
Okay.
What's
Hold
you
on.
just said?
That's you. If you're about to say you love all the seasons equally, that's not true.
Okay,
Because it's, we'll just timestamp when we're recording this. It's August 23rd. Have you or have you not listened to Christmas music this year yet?
Yeah.
I'm not.
That's a lie.
That is a lie.
That is a
That is
lie.
from the pit of
Pull
hell.
Yeah.
up my Spotify right now.
Okay,
Pull
here
it
it
up.
is.
No
Zachary
way.
Brown's.
You were
Promise.
listening to Mariah Carey on the way here.
No.
All I
You
Want
were.
for Christmas
No.
is You.
Yep.
Okay, never mind. I'm gonna wait for my turn on my hot takes.
Yeah, no, because I'm
Okay,
so
I'm just
with
gonna
you.
say it now.
Okay.
My two Christmas hot takes, and Pastor Tim and I vehemently disagree.
What was the
on-
word you just tried?
Vehemently.
Exhibit A, what we said earlier.
That's not it. That's not it.
No, that's
That's not a word.
yes.
There's vehemently, not vehemently.
Okay, we're moving on. Pastor Tim and I disagree on this. But Elf is an overrated Christmas movie, which, by the way,
totally
you
agree
agree with
with.
me on that one.
Definitely disagree with you.
and,
I vehemently disagree with you on that.
And Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You is like the most overrated Christmas song of all time. So if I was listening to Christmas music, it would not be Mariah Carey.
You
Therefore,
can't
you're
say that.
wrong.
She trademarked Christmas.
No, you like Little Drummer Boy and that kind of stuff.
Like Pentatonics, like the...
There's a hot take.
Like,
Or Where Are You
I
Christmas?
cannot
Where are you?
Like acapella.
stand Pentatonics.
yeah, they're
Or
overrated for me.
anything that's show tuney or
Cheesy,
Okay.
classical
Or musical.
Christian.
Are you still on your hot take?
I got one more.
Okay,
no,
because
I'm
by
so
the way, here's the other reason that fall is because I do like fall. There's some very nice things about fall. some romantic
Nostalgic
things about
back to
fall.
school, football season.
one cares
The
about that.
weather's getting cooler.
Yeah, no
and
one loves that.
Fall bonfires and
Fall bonfires.
and
Another hot take. I don't like bonfires.
Winter clothes are
make you
way
stink.
better than summer clothes. Need I go on?
Okay.
There's
But
nothing
you're-
like
You are also probably in the minority of you like cold temperature better than hot temperature.
Yes, that's because see fall.
okay, I definitely don't like hot temperature, but if, like a balmy 82 to 85 with no humidity, I can do that. No, I really can.
80 balmy?
It's like hot. 80 to 80.
Balmy, I thought of like 50.
Okay, hold on.
What is the temperature of balmy? Give me a
I don't
second.
think Mr. Balmy has a specific landing degree, but I will say this: I'm probably somewhere between y'all. I do like fall. There's some like romantic, nostalgic things about fall.
Yeah, Halloween, like the dressing up and
I do like things about fall.
trick-or-treating, like I mean,
But I get angry at people that in summer want to move us to fall. And unlike you, I don't care about football. And number two, I don't like if you're in the Midwest. Fall has this dread behind it because it means it's going to lead you into the icy abyss of despair and seasonal sadness
well,
and
it's been
depression and
getting. I mean,
coldness.
winters have been pretty mild around here. I'm just saying.
Well, for Ohio, yeah.
But, okay. I don't like to speed past summer. Once we get past 4th of July, you start to like enjoy the waning days of summer. Once the calendar flips to August, that's when I start looking forward to fall. So I do like fall, and I want to speed it up once we get to August. But give me the
Okay.
first part of summer. I love it.
Okay.
Here for it.
All right.
All right.
What is
What's one
balmy?
more?
What is balmy?
It was inconclusive.
That was inconclusive.
AKA I was right.
No, I
Did
was.
you just say AKI?
AKA I was
AKA.
right.
Oh, okay.
Also known as. Okay, this is my last one.
Okay.
Why are you looking at me?
I came to fight today.
Uh-oh.
I think being super into a sports team of a college that you did not go to is super weird. I think let me first say, let me break that down. Being super into a sports team is weird. To the point where it affects your emotional state of being is super weird. I'm not saying you, but of the three of us, it's you.
I have never loved you more.
And then being super into a sports team from a college, even weirder. And then when you add in you didn't go to that college, it gets even weirder.
I do feel
And I
very attacked.
understand that explains most of Central Ohio,
Yes.
but it's so weird.
I am speechless with joy. What say you? How do you feel right now?
I can't respond because if I do, I'll probably end up incriminating myself even further. So therefore, I hear your point.
Is this one of those, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all?
Well, no,
This is Mr. Zen Zany. Where
no.
it's like, I hear you.
No, I hear you, and I think it's fine.
It's fine.
You know, I may not have been mowing my grass last weekend, and as I was mowing my grass, listening to
Even.
like the Buckeye marching band.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
Well, here's the thing: not just the Buckeye marching band. I was listening to like the University of Notre Dame fight song. I was listening to like the Michigan fight song. I was like, all these different ones, and I was just getting pumped up. And
There's
ready
times when
for
I
college football season. That's what I said. If I keep talking, I'm going to incriminate myself even further.
There are moments when I really connect
college
with
game
you.
day.
Yeah. I'm all for watching a good football game sometimes.
That you just don't.
I don't.
Here's the thing. I'm like sitting there listening to it, and I'm like, this is like, I'm like crying because I'm like, this is my childhood, and I'm getting ready to go to like.
Wait, rewind. You said you were crying? I'm so sorry. Repeat that.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Circle that?
Friday afternoon, and we were getting ready. I'm the team chaplain for the Canal High School football team, and we're getting ready to go do our first Friday night football game. I'm listening to like this music. You know, got college football around the corner. NFL's coming, and I'm just like, you know, and maybe I think there's just a lot of emotions because too, like, you know, my first son was just born, and so I'm sitting there, and I'm just.
I saw your picture you posted today where it says my first football,
and I'm just like,
beside him.
and I'm just like, here is a moment where it's like. First of all, I get to watch football games with him and just instill in him a love for the game and everything that comes from it. And it's the best game in the whole world. And,
well, you know what?
I just get a little nostalgic and I remember being a kid and watching college game day at 10:30 and not stopping watching college football till midnight that night.
Well, you know what? I celebrate that for you because that's what makes the world go around. We're all so different. We all have different things. I mean, to be fair, me and Jesse are the weird ones, probably, if you put us in most rooms when it comes to this.
Yep.
So we understand that.
Weird doesn't mean wrong.
That's true, too. I will say I was slightly confused by I didn't DM you. I didn't reply because I didn't want you to think I was being just a smart aleck. But I was very confused because on Monday you posted something and said, Friday Night Lights, I'm so excited. Was that from Friday?
That was from Friday.
Oh, from Friday. Okay.
Yeah, from Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, this must be one of those football things I'm confused on, where Friday's Monday and Monday's Friday. And
yeah, but every time it's high school football, so it's Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights, okay. Okay, fun fact, I actually watched the TV show Friday Night Lights, first 3 seasons.
It's good.
I feel like it was like One Tree Hill, but for, I don't know.
I like the movie.
Maybe?
I like the movie.
No, okay.
Never
movie
watched
was
either of
good.
those.
Never saw the movie. Okay, all right. If you are not enjoying this, you asked for it. Everyone that responded. Okay.
That's true.
Jesse James.
Those are my lighthearted.
They're your lighthearted ones. Okay.
Mine are much faster.
Okay.
But this
Okay,
will
rude.
probably, taking up all of our time over here. This will probably insult all of my fellow nerd fans out there.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay, number one, I've got 2 of them. First of all, the Star Wars prequels, episodes 1, 2, 3, not that bad. In fact, they are, like, I think, really good storytelling. And it's like a Greek tragedy. What happens to Anakin? You know, he's the savior of the Force, and then, you know, falls in love, and then ends up getting seduced by the dark side, and then when he's fighting his mentor master, and I mean, it's incredible story writing. Underrated movies.
Okay. Have you seen them?
I mean, come on. Of course. Have
Yeah.
you not?
I think I saw one of them.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but episode 1 is a terrible movie.
I'm holistically all 3 of them
episode
together.
3 is good.
Episode 3 is great.
Episode 2 is mediocre, and episode 1's horrible.
What's bad about episode 1?
Everything.
Jar Jar?
Everything about Jar Jar.
What is happening?
Everything.
Okay, Jar Jar.
They
Well,
introduced an awesome bad guy in Darth Maul and killed him immediately.
Yeah, but he lives on in the animated.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Well, it's canon. What do you mean it doesn't
I
count?
understand it's canon, but not real canon.
Yeah, it is officially licensed
understand.
Luke
Hey
You know
guys,
what I'm
my
saying.
my nerd gland's about to explode.
Hey,
What
this
do
is
we?
where I think the sequels are actually the best of all the trilogies.
So this is my other hot take.
Okay.
Okay, is a lighthearted hot take, although it could stray into the serious for the super nerds out there. Episode 8, The Last Jedi, is perhaps the most underrated of the sequel movies, and definitely, I think, the best new Star Wars movie that was created. It was a fresh take on the characters. It pushes the story in a new direction, which it needed. You can't just rely on nostalgia to keep the whole thing going. You got to push forward into new bounds to keep the franchise alive for the next generation, and The Last Jedi was trying to do that, and all the old Star Wars curmudgeon fans had to go and complain about it, and we got episode 9.
Okay.
That's a hot take.
That's a hot take. Okay.
I don't think you understand how hot of a take that was.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
That was spicy.
It's very spicy.
I actually agree with you, though.
Yeah,
I thought episode 8 was good.
episode 8 is really good.
well,
I
for
actually
what
liked episode 9, too, which is another hot
Episode 9 wasn't bad. It's definitely not as bad as what people think.
take. He's so over this.
I know.
no, please tell me more. Well, you know what? I'll say this.
I will give you a high five if you can name 3 characters from any Star Wars movies. Just 3. You don't have to get the whole name, just first names.
Schmeagol,
Smeagol.
Gandalf,
That's no.
Voldemort, and
My heart hurts so bad. Oh my god.
When Jim was
Yes.
trying to get Dwight distracted in the office.
yeah. What was he say?
Something about,
Oh,
you watched the new Battlestar Galactica? How Dumbledore Calrissian has to retrieve the ring from Mordor. So it's something that's just all wrong.
Yes. This is Dwight right here being tortured, and I love it. If for what it's worth, I'm not gonna. I have no response to your hot take. I just celebrate you. Okay, you got something else?
nope, those are my 2
Is
lighthearted
it
ones.
okay? Just like you, I don't really have a ton. And Jesse, you show us up on these. I just have 2. One of them's not even is not controversial. It's just like maybe like a personal preference. Like I don't know. I think the movie theater experience is worth fighting for. I think it needs to be revived. I don't want it
I
to go.
love going to the movies.
Yeah, it does not go the way of Blockbuster. I think people need to get out and start going back to movies. Yeah. Second one, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I feel, because I don't ever want to hate on Ohio. Like, I love Columbus, I love Ohio. But I got to say, I feel like having moved here and not being from Ohio, I feel like Ohio is weirdly proud of its pizza, but weirdly lacking in pizza. Like, I've not, like, for some reason, when I first moved here, like, all I heard was, bro, the pizza, I mean, it's just, we're known for pizza.
Dude, we have Pizza Hut,
I mean, but,
Donatos.
but I'm not like, I mean, I guess it has maybe an abnormal, but it was just weird, the proportionality of how much people talked about pizza when I moved here. And Ohio being known for its pizza.
I mean, as a native Ohioan, I don't know where people are getting that. I don't know if I would claim that. I don't know who you talked to who said that.
One of them was our boss.
Well, I know he said that, but he also, as we've discussed around this table, when it comes to food.
Pastor Tim, are you listening to this?
Yeah. Anyways, I love you, Pastor Tim. But I don't think, I've not heard any really true foodie here in Ohio say, Ohio has the best pizza in the world.
By the way, I don't know if either one of you will care, but
So I agree with you.
Okay, so maybe 2 of my hot takes aren't that big of hot takes. Fun fact that probably neither of you care about. Cameron Mitchell's brand new restaurant opens tonight. It's an Italian restaurant in German Village. I got one of the last reservations. It's like 9:45 p.m., but
You're excited about it, aren't you?
I'm very, very excited. It looks awesome.
I think those are the
called
best.
Cento.
I think those are probably the best restaurants in Columbus.
The
As a
best.
chain, yes. Maybe not individually, but like
Yeah.
all together.
All of his restaurants are really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like mine weren't too great. All right. Jesse, heavy hot take.
Heavy hot take.
Yep.
That's a good saying. All right. Now, let me finish explaining this one
Uh-oh.
before I get canceled.
Okay.
Okay? I think that a lot of people's struggles with mental health would be significantly improved, potentially even eliminated, by paying more attention to their physical health. Let me tell you where I'm coming from. So as somebody, I've been pretty open that I've struggled with depression throughout my adult life. So as somebody that has battled some mental health issues, I used to hear people say that kind of phrase all the time. And would at least, at minimum, be skeptical, at times maybe even a little insulted of like, are you minimizing what's happening inside my head as to just something I need to work out more and that'll help?
Yeah.
Until this year. This year, of all years, I've paid more attention to my physical health than probably most years of my life. And what I mean by that is I have lifted weights or done some kind of cardio at least 4 days a week, tried to drink a gallon of water a day, tried to cut out as much refined sugar, processed foods, and really paid attention to my sleep and screen time late at night. and this has been mentally the best year of my adult life. So I understand that's just anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of us, there is, of all people, there's a Jim Carrey quote that I think about a lot.
We talked about this.
He says, I believe depression is legitimate, but I also believe that if you don't exercise, eat nutritious food, get sunlight, get enough sleep, consume positive material, and surround yourself with support, you aren't giving yourself a fighting chance. And I think there are a lot of us, myself included at times, that are not giving ourselves a fighting chance.
I love that. That's great.
I don't know how hot that is.
No, I couldn't agree more. We did several
Yeah.
kind of spin-off episodes during the mental health series. One of them we literally called, I forget how we phrased it, but it was like the unspoken side of mental health. And it was almost like a whole episode of the hot takes of like, here's like the I don't know. But I love that.
Yep.
What, I mean, I know this isn't like the point of our episode, but what are some practicals? Like when you talk about like how you've changed the way you eat, screen time, like what are some things you've done?
Cook a lot more at home, eat out less.
Okay.
I have started to, I bought blue light filtering glasses. After about 8 o'clock or so, I put those on.
Okay.
Because to eliminate all screens past 8, I'm not there yet. Some people can do that. I'm not.
Yeah.
So that's a good step towards that. I go to bed at the exact same time, most of the time. Wake up at the exact same time.
What time is that?
I try to be in bed by 9:30.
Wow. And then, okay, is it like pitch dark? Do you listen or watching things? You go to sleep?
I watch stuff to go to sleep.
Okay.
Because I don't sleep well. But blue light helps with that at least a little bit.
Okay.
Some other practicals, I'm eating a high protein diet. So like every meal I try to get like 50-ish grams of protein. And
50?
Yeah, 50.
How many meals do you eat a day?
3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So ballparking around 150 to 200 grams of protein a day, because then I'll usually throw in a protein shake or something like that in there. And then in mealtime, eat the protein first. I start the morning with electrolytes and 30 ounces of water.
Yep. Same.
One tip, there's a doctor that I follow on Instagram. He says anytime you're feeling anxious or like your head is a mess, you have to get out of your head and into your body. So that's, I now followed that. Like past couple weeks have been a little stressful. I've worked out more. Like at night I'm like, I need to get out of my head and into my body. And for me at least, it's helped significantly.
It's great.
It's awesome.
I love that. What about you?
Okay, so this one, another political one, just because I feel like that's my passion.
Yep.
Who
Who you rooting for in 2024?
I'm not going to say.
Okay.
Unless you say.
Nope.
Okay.
I'll say after.
Oh,
You
okay.
say.
Afterwards. I think we need to make some major overhauls to the way we campaign. So to that end, we need to eliminate. I forget. My mind is blanking. It's really frustrating me. There was an act that was passed, I think in either the 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s. So that's a big range there in Congress.
So somewhere since the inauguration of our nation.
Yeah, no, not since then.
Since 1776, at some point.
There was an act that was passed that allowed special corporations to donate money to political candidates. We need to eliminate that law. And then I think that each candidate who's running for office should get the same pool of money. So let's say you're running for president. You get X amount of millions of dollars to spend on your campaign.
Was this for each party?
For each party.
I mean, but like, what if last minute Kanye forms the birthday party again? Last minute, does he get the same amount?
You have to.
Is the birthday party a real thing?
No.
I don't
You have to
think
put.
he knows.
You have to put some parameters on what it means to be like a party.
Okay.
Define what kind of support you need to have, what kind of organization you need to have.
And does that just start at, I know we're going deep, or does that just start at the level of once they're running for president, or does that start like before the primaries? Does like if 12 people are running for the Democratic, nomination, do they all 12 of those get the same amount of money to
you get a certain amount of money at that point, and then once you become like a nominee, you get bumped up to another level.
Okay.
I think each party should get the same amount of money. And I think this is probably the hottest part of this take. I think that money should come from taxpayer dollars. It's our. They're running for us. They're there to support us. Like they're our leaders that we're electing. So we're going to fund them money to run their campaign. If they mismanage the money and they don't do a good job with it and they run out, it's on them. That's you have to be wise with how you manage those resources. I think the candidate who can do all that can demonstrate stewardship. I think they can demonstrate an ability to message well, because when you have a limited amount of funds, you really have to message well.
Yeah.
And I think this would eliminate a lot of special interests, also funding a lot of our campaigns and where we're at. Each party, each candidate gets the same amount of money, comes from taxpayer dollars for every election. And that's how we should do campaign finance.
Interesting.
Change the way people.
And hey, you are kind
campaign.
of touching into the conspiracy world of special interest groups
Yes.
influencing elections.
Yes.
So should we just? Oh,
Well, no. You gotta give us your hot take.
Well, I can't.
Oh, that's
So,
right. Yeah, we can just jump in.
Yeah, I did come prepared with one, and I was talking to some of the senior leadership right before I walked
little
up
too
here,
spicy.
and had I threw out in passing something I was going to share, and they pretty much both simultaneously said, "Yeah, probably shouldn't get canceled for that one." So apparently, my hot take was a little too hot, a little
It's a
too
hill
spicy.
not worth dying on.
Nope,
Spicy.
not worth dying. I'm going to exercise a little wisdom and restraint. But let's reopen the can of worms of conspiracy theories. It's interesting. I was telling y'all, again, we just got so much feedback, all of it good so far, from when the three of us hung out. But one of the things that someone said, someone who I even think they would probably label themselves a conspiracy-minded person that's in our church, awesome guy, but he was just like, oh yeah, I'd be all over that. He said, everything that, one of the reasons people believe it is that everything the government has ever called a conspiracy theory turns out to be true. And I was like, well, that's not true, obviously. I mean, you have QAnon, you have JFK still alive. And I mean, even you, I feel like you wouldn't consider yourself a conspiracy theorist, but you would consider yourself more likely to entertain them and be entertained by them.
Correct.
Even you said, well, it's not like they all have come true, but some have come true, which has helped, kind of propel those. Yeah, validate. And when I kind of push back, this person's response was, okay, not every conspiracy theory has been proven true, but his contention is that almost every conspiracy that has to do with government overreach or that has to do with like something the government denied has come true. And he pointed to things like Big Brother kind of stuff, like, there's probably is a James Snowden or whatever. Did I say it wrong?
Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden. It is James Snowden. Wait, is that Twilight?
I couldn't tell you.
Edward is Twilight.
So anyway, Snowden and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know how true that is, but he did also make a statement that right before we started recording this, I wanted to fact check. He said, you know where the term conspiracy theory comes from, right? The CIA created it so they could make people feel crazy when they question the government. So I literally just looked this up. And again, this is the internet. This is why it's important to fact check everything. And maybe somebody should fact check my fact check. But it shows claim and then the assessment. Claim. The terms conspiracy theory and conspiracy theorists were created by the Central Intelligence Agency following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy as a way of discrediting people who doubted the government's official reports. Assessment. False. Recorded use of the phrase conspiracy theory dates back to at least 1863, and it was notably invoked in reports following the 1881 shooting of then-President James A. Garfield more than 60 years before the CIA was even established. An academic review of the digital library JSTOR found the term conspiracy theorist had been published at least in the year before Kennedy's death, and it has more facts that follow. So it was just like another reminder, whatever we hear on both sides, let's fact check. Let's look at what's real. And but yeah, I'm sure Jesse James, some of that, or even just last week's conversation, has continued to. I'm sure you got more to.
Well, yeah,
of the onion to unlayer.
Well, I think part of this onion is, like you said, it's the internet. So you can find anything that says anything.
True.
And so, like, as you read why the CIA did not invent that term conspiracy theory. I found another site that said they did.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think this is where part of the fun of this conversation is in thinking critically about stuff. Of like, is it possible that there is a narrative out there that weaves through this that actually is real and is trying to be covered up? One of the things you brought up of like, has some of our society lost its ability to think critically about stuff and likes to be spoon-fed
Yeah.
the information and receives everything at face value without questioning it? And again, there's dangerous rabbit trails to go down with that of we're questioning everything and the government's always lying to us. But as this gentleman said, there are certain things that have been conspiracy at one point, like you mentioned Edward Snowden. You're referencing Project Echelon, which is basically where he leaked, the government can tap into your laptop camera if they really want to, and they can listen in on your Alexa, and they can do this and they can do that. This is where I put the tinfoil hat down. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, they're going to hear me talk to my wife about paying our bills. Like, why would they do that? But that at one point was a huge conspiracy. Oh, that's ridiculous. Well, it turns out wasn't. Might have had some legitimacy to it.
Didn't you tell me that was it Joe Rogan found a way to get Snowden on his podcast and had
Fascinating.
to how did what was all the things involved? So I found that part fascinating.
Yeah, so Edward Snowden's in hiding, but he's via some sort of video link, probably not Zoom, but some sort of hacker way to have him on the podcast via video. And he even references like, I'm somewhere. I had to make sure that even you in this video call couldn't figure out where I was at because I'm being hunted, basically. Fascinating. Whether he's full of crap or not, I don't know. Either way, fascinating.
Which I found fascinating that it seemed like that would be a very risky take for even Joe Rogan to not aid a fugitive, but to take part in. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Joe Rogan's swing zone right there.
Oh, yeah. No, I know he loves that.
Yeah.
But it would seem like that would put him in legal jeopardy.
Yeah, I don't know how all that works.
Interesting. But
Yeah. So interesting. We went through some of the posts that I made on Instagram at this point, probably a month ago. But I asked the question. I said, hey, what are some other because we went through like 8 or 9 of them, I think last time, some stats. And I asked the question, what are some other conspiracy theories that y'all know or that you all listen to? And the main one that came up that everyone kept telling me I needed to check out was this conspiracy theory called Project Bluebeam. And I think was it you who sent a video to the 3 of us? Or
I thought you did.
Maybe I did. I don't know. But we kind of jokingly did a little bit of research into that between when we filmed the last podcast into now. So I'm curious, this video that you watched.
Okay.
The video you sent was a little bit satirical.
Okay, so I told y'all I did not know. In fact, I'm trying to remember. It was so fantastical and so absurd that I didn't really know what parts were sarcasm, what parts were real.
Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like I am fighting through a hallucinogenic dream to try to even extract
it's very difficult because what he's saying about Project Bluebeam was all true, but he was mimicking a very popular conspiracy theorist who's gotten into some legal trouble recently.
It was funny.
To Sandy Hook.
Oh, Alex
Jones. He was acting like Alex Jones. He was talking like him all the time. He would go, "I got the documents." That's something Alex Jones is known for. So it was very difficult if you have zero familiarity with it to decipher what was real and what wasn't.
It was funny, disturbing, and confusing. So
tell us a little bit about Project Bluebeam.
I honestly don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Pastor Jesse, you want to tell us about Project Bluebeam?
See, this is where I feel unqualified for my position at this table as the quote-unquote conspiracy guy. Because if I've learned anything, I had several people reach out to me too and be like, do you know about this one? Do you know about this one? I'm like, no, I don't. So Project Bluebeam essentially is It's kind of like the granddaddy of all conspiracies. You've heard about it without hearing about it. If you've heard about New World Order, if you heard about
NWO
One World
Wolfpack.
Government, if you've heard about all this,
Don't turn your
all
back on the
that
Wolfpack.
is essentially in reference to Project Bluebeam.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, Wolfpack and NWO?
NWO, yes.
Okay.
New World Order.
Okay.
Like from Hulk Hogan and
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
he's in on it.
Oh, okay. I mean, who even knows? Or is
But
he? They'd want you to think he
essentially,
wasn't.
it is a way to make a one world government, so that the so-called elites that are behind the scenes of everything can actually become in control of everyone. Essentially, that is, without going down a 30-minute rabbit hole to explain the whole thing. But it was thought up by a French journalist named Serge Monast or something like that.
Yeah.
In '94, shout out my birth year, and it didn't gain popularity until later on, but basically what there's part of it is they're going to fake an alien invasion, which is why this is getting hot right now, because all this alien talk.
stuff.
They're going to fake an alien invasion, so we as human beings have a united enemy to fight against, so we will form one world government essentially.
That's
with the lizard people at the top.
This sounds like every element of a conspiracy theorist's dream put into one.
That's what I'm saying. It's the Mac Daddy.
And if you watch Spider-Man, was it Far From Home? Yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Never seen it.
They actually use, the villain in the movie, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, uses drones to create 3D visual images like in the air, simulating like an attack. A lighthearted version of this is The Incredibles, when who's the main bad guy? Incredibles.
The first one?
Yeah.
Dang.
Incrediboy, he turns into the bad guy. Anyways, he makes a robot, but he can control the robot. So in Spider-Man, these drones literally project images into the sky of an attack, and the superhero comes up, he flies up, and he defeats him, but really it's just a choreographed scene to make it look like he's the hero. And so in Project Bluebeam, there's an alien invasion. They're going to use drones to simulate this attack, and then there'll be some sort of heroic figure that saves humanity, and then we all will unite in some world order.
That's well, wow.
That's a big one.
That's big. Jess, do you believe this?
It's a difficult one to get into.
Let me ask this question, though, because I do see this thread, and I want to hear both of your takes on this before we go into other conspiracy theories. The idea of a new world order or some form of a shadow government or people who are calling the shots behind the scenes. I think
that's the big part.
On some level, there's a lot of people who believe that is real and happening. Is there validity to that claim? Are the things we experience actually real? Or are these just all kind of, I don't want to say a simulation like the Matrix, but are current events and news events and things that we read, are they just all part of what groups of people behind the scenes want us to see?
Yeah, I don't know why this comes to my mind. You can tell me if you think this is like an apt analogy, but like, you know how like with evolution, there's microevolution and macroevolution. There's people that believe, you can't deny it, there's microevolution, there's adaptation, right? That animals adjust, they evolve. There's parts of that we can see. Macroevolution is obviously the leap that one species becomes another species. You know, that over millions of years they've evolved. That, you know, come from, amoebas become monkeys. That become, maybe for me this is where my breaking point is, and I don't know if this is a good analogy. Do I believe in the equivalent of microevolution when it comes to conspiracy theories? In other words, do I believe that there are cover-ups? Obviously, I do believe there are cover-ups. Do I believe there's corruption? Yeah, I do believe there's corruption. Do I believe we're lied to at times, not told the whole truth? Of course. Do I believe there's massive global behind the scenes, mass delusion and conspiracy of trying to pull one over on all of society or change or do a new world order? 100% no. And maybe it's that leap to a quote-unquote macroevolution that would make one a conspiracy theorist, where I don't make that leap.
This is where I feel like I'm kind of ignorant. I don't know if I know some of the evidence for why people think that is the case, other than what we talked about last time, The people, again, here's the thing with conspiracy theories. People take seemingly unrelated events or phenomena and they take narrative threads from each of those things and they piece them together to form a reality. And so, I think you can look at a lot of the events that have happened over the last several years, different things, everything ranging from COVID policies to climate change to 2020 election to all these different, I know those are America specific things, some of them, but like there's COVID was around the world. Like people take different narratives from those things and say that there are people who are behind the scenes, often with deep pockets, that are making these things happen.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I don't. This is where I might push back with what you said, and I don't know how big of a leap between those two things it actually is.
Okay.
Because of what you just said. I think the closest thing to absolute power you have in our world is lots of money.
Yeah.
And what's the quote? I think it was a founding father said, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Which I don't believe.
You don't think so?
No. I'm going to quote one of my heroes. Absolute power does not corrupt completely. Absolute power reveals completely. I think power and money just make you more of what you already are.
True.
I think if you're a jerk with money and you become a billionaire, you're going to be a colossal jerk or tyrant with money. I think if you're generous and you have character and you're given more and more money, you're just going to do more and more good with money. I think maybe that's part of my annoyance is it seems like this weird tall poppy syndrome elitism of like anti-success, anti-wealth, anti-influence. It's that whole thing of like once a band that's underground gets success, everybody wants to destroy them. Like I don't think the rich and the elite and the successful should be given special privileges or should be shielded from consequences. At the same time, I don't like the dark suspicion that we want to just destroy anyone who has power.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm saying.
I know, but I feel like that spirit seems to be behind a lot of this because all you ever hear is the elite.
Yeah.
Right.
The rich men north of Richmond. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I do,
the song.
I do.
Yes,
Anyways,
the
okay.
song, yes.
Sorry, but go ahead.
Huge viral hit overnight, basically.
Yes.
So what I would say is that basically, I guess it doesn't seem that far-fetched to me to jump to that. I'm saying that Project Bluebeam is totally real and there are the globalists and the elite. Put a gun to my head, I'd probably say, I don't know, probably not. But I don't think it's that far-fetched either.
Why?
Simply because there is corruption in our world. And if it's possible, corrupt people get access to that kind of power, that kind of resource, that kind of influence, is it possible they use it to their own gain? I think absolutely. To me, that's not that far-fetched.
It's not far-fetched that they use it to their gain. That's not far-fetched. What's far-fetched to me is there would be such a sophisticated mass number of them that would all, for whatever reason, decide to collaborate on the same scheme, and it be an evil scheme.
Yeah.
And like what would the
See, I think you're assuming that it's all elite, all wealthy, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think what people are assuming, the globalists is a relatively small group of people.
Okay. That are all trying. But I guess what I'm saying, like you always hear like the cabal of like all of, it seems to be like the Epstein's Island, that they're all of the rich and famous are behind it. All the celebrities are behind it. Or it's kind of like the political version of Illuminati, right? Of like.
I think in this Project Bluebeam example where I was going with this, it is a smaller group of people. Maybe 5 to 7 people. I don't know. There's not really a number out there, but it is a smaller group of people who, are actually calling the shots and doing those things.
So, and I guess the other thing would be like, what's the motive? What's the agenda? Like, yeah, if you're corrupt and you have a ton of money, you would use it to your advantage for sure. In worst case scenarios, you're an Epstein who buys an island so you can extort people. What's like
control? I mean, that's what the conspiracy theorists would say.
Well, like, what's the ultimate goal? They just want to do
Run
what?
The show.
Power, control.
Power.
So what are they all trying to do to us? Like, what's the ultimate goal?
See,
Control is for what?
See, that's where it depends on what theory you're talking about.
Okay.
Some people are trying to recreate the Matrix, like Mark Zuckerberg.
I mean,
that was a joke.
I mean, everybody's. I mean, there's so many controversial opinions on from Zuckerberg to Bill Gates to Elon Musk.
Sure, yeah, and I meant
to
that as a
Jimmy
joke.
Buffett. No, I know, but like those are some of the richest. And if you look at like the top 10 richest, like, I mean, you see most of them, whether you like them or not, in their own ways, they're just trying to be generative. They're trying to create new things. You may not agree with all their lifestyle choices. Depending on whether you're on the left or right, you probably either love them or hate them. I get all that, but I don't think you can take any of, in my view, I know some people think Bill Gates is the Antichrist and like his blood is in our vaccines and whatever, but like I don't know.
Okay, conspiracy theories.
I'm just saying, but like, I don't know. My mind just can't even.
Well, see, the conspiratorial way of thinking is like, all the people that are actually the elites would not appear on the top 10 richest list.
Okay.
They're hidden. They're behind the scenes.
The Russian oligarchs being assassinated right and left.
Oh, yeah. What did you just say?
Russian oligarchs, they're all being like, dying and being killed. And
Hit with a little heart attack gun, which actually is what happened to Serge Monast after he wrote his book, Project
Really?
Bluebeam.
Really? That is interesting.
Died 2 years later of a heart attack. Seemingly healthy person. Died out of nowhere.
Speaking of weird things like that, well, you told me, okay, so I mentioned this last episode. My one conspiratorial bent has to do with life outside of this earth. And you sent me Bob Lazar's episode with Joe Rogan.
Yep.
And it's fascinating. I will say he is a very interesting figure. And with some very interesting ideas and observations and thoughts. And what you told me about, what was it? He is it element 115 that was added to the periodic chart from the craft that he surveyed, and then he hinted in some sort of podcast or episode, like he had to come forward so that he wouldn't be killed.
Yeah,
and then
in the 80s.
In the 80s, but then in some episode when he mentioned that he hinted that he might still have a piece of that material. At that exact moment, the FBI raided his home. Was that
the next day?
The next day. Okay.
So yeah, there's a documentary on Netflix, very well done, by Jeremy Corbell, called Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. That's basically Jeremy Corbell, who's a huge UFO guy, is documenting Bob Lazar's life, telling his story over again, telling from all the way back in the 80s when he came forward with George Knapp and all this stuff throughout, still now to this day, telling the same story. And he's just some dude in Michigan who runs a little science lab, does something, I can't remember exactly what it is, tells Jeremy, one day, there's one camera recording. They go through it. If you watch the documentary, you see it. They put all their phones way over there because of Project Echelon, the government's always listening. And the very next day, he gets raided by the FBI because he hints that he has or kept a piece of this element 115, which at the time when he started talking about element 115, it did not exist. We didn't know that. But recently it was observed in a particle accelerator or something like that, above my pay grade now. But he's been talking about it for years, and then it turns out, it's real, and Bob was right about it at least. So I don't know. See, again, that's where when conspiracies, I don't follow all the rabbit trails to go, like, okay, gun to my head, it's a cover up and all this. It's just like, that's interesting.
Okay, but I want to ask you. I want to put you on the spot, if you don't feel like comfortable answering.
I love being on the spot.
Do you feel like there is an overall greater powers that be that are controlling things?
Well, honestly, I would say more likely than less likely.
Okay. What does that look like?
I don't know. But I think it's very possible for all of humanity to be duped. Because I think there, in many ways, I thought about this morning about how we were all duped when it came to social media. We were being sold as product without realizing. True. Essentially, how literally it's created for us to scroll so that they can sell advertisements. We are the product. We thought social media was the product. We're the product. So that is a stretch of it.
No, that's a stretch.
But I don't think it's much of a stretch.
That's what the documentary said that we all watched.
Social Dilemma?
Yeah.
No, my point is we have realized, I guess my point is the way it seemed like you phrased that is the whole invention of social media was this grand plan to advertise, but that's not what it was. It wasn't created that way.
But
it
very
was
quickly,
created.
that's what it became.
It
Yes.
became that.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, did people eventually take advantage of it and exploit human psychology in addictive ways?
Sure.
And yes, was it monetized just like anything in society is monetized? Yes. And are we realizing, wait, overall, in your words, is this a net negative? Yes. I think that's way different than saying, hey, there was this grand plan from the beginning to dupe society.
Yeah, no. So I don't think it was a grand plan from the beginning.
He's just saying
but
we
whether
were.
or not it was a plan from the beginning, that's what happened, I think, eventually.
We all kind of.
So I think that's just an example of how we are possible, or it's possible for us to fall into a trick or be tricked or think one thing and not realizing something more malevolent is happening.
And maybe this isn't a relevant question because you're, again, from the way y'all are explaining it, it's like, okay, a handful, like less than the fingers on my two hands, individuals that are wealthy that are behind this. But it just seems like, despite all the corruption that we know exists in our government, currently our democracy is flawed and imperfect as it is. Going back to the whole moon landing analogy of how many people would have to be in on it for it not to be pulled, how things are leaked so easily nowadays. It just feels like they were just how many. There's enough checks and balances. There's enough open windows through social media and listening devices and leaked reports that I just feel like whatever credibility there would be to these kind of grand schemes would have just be caught and snagged pretty quickly.
I don't know. I'll push back on that a little bit
Okay.
because I don't know if I would agree with your statement that it's more likely than not that is the case. But I will
For him?
Yeah, the way he said. I don't know if I would agree with that. But to push back on what you're saying, I think if there's anything I've seen over the last 3 years is the rise of disinformation or misinformation.
Sure.
I think it's easier now than ever to confuse, dupe, throw people off the scent. Like I think it's easier now than ever to confuse people, change the narrative, change the topic. If there was a small group of people who were controlling everything and something was about to come out, these people certainly would have the power and the influence to change the media narrative, to throw people off the scent, sow enough doubt into people's minds that I think you could pretty easily, in my mind, just what I've seen happen in this country over the last 3 years, throw people off the scent.
No.
Yeah, well, I think maybe a better way to say what I actually feel. The way I would, because I don't want to walk away from this table going, New World Order's real. It's not what I said. I think what I'd be comfortable like hanging my hat on is that within what we know, what's publicly said, what's with elections, with this, with that, there's way more shenanigans happening than we think.
Sure.
That's what I'm comfortable saying.
Okay.
Unless you have something else you want to go to. I think what's interesting for me, though, I was talking to some friends just this week about, what's happening in the current election cycle now with all the indictments of Donald Trump and different things like that. Not that I want to go super political, but, there's just such a plurality of views on all these things. When we talk about conspiracy theories, there's so many people who have different beliefs, and it seems like in our culture, those beliefs are getting sharper, and we're dividing up into camps even more. And what used to be, oh, hey, I know I've got some friends who believe in some conspiracy theories, and they're kind of fun, and let's talk about it, and let's joke about it. Now it's almost like I feel like the lines are drawn sometimes, and as someone who probably is more likely to not believe a conspiracy theory than I am to believe a conspiracy theory, sometimes this is just my own personal feeling, sometimes when I talk to people who do believe in conspiracy theories, there's a sense of, you don't believe this? Like you're not aware of
Almost
this?
like you're naive.
Yeah.
You're
like
sheeple.
Like that sort of thing. And I know that I'm sure people who are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories feel the same way too. Right. Like they feel this sense of like, oh my gosh, you're an idiot. Why would you believe that?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it goes both ways is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because I feel like we're getting more aggressive towards one another when it comes to these beliefs. And I just wonder, like, where is this going to lead?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. I was going to say, regardless of that, that's not helpful. Regardless of if there's whatever. I think if there's been any actual benefit to these two conversations we've had, is hopefully that we've at least given an example of, like, we can disagree with each other and still be friends afterwards.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
You can think inside jobs, you can think Epstein, you can think this, you can think all that, talk about it, whatever, but you can talk about it with respect, and we can all be friends at the end of the day.
It's very true. It is interesting. We call it Pastor Jack's crew.
Yep.
As a group text me and PT. He, I don't know if it was from our podcast. It didn't seem like it was even related. I don't even know if you've seen the podcast, but he sent us that text out of the blue of that. It's a screenshot of a verse he read one morning. And I can't tell if this is Isaiah or whatever it is, but starting at verse 11, it says, the Lord has given me a strong warning not to think like everyone else does. He said, verse 12, don't call everything a conspiracy like they do, and don't live in dread of what frightens them. May the Lord of heaven's army be holy in your life. He is the one you should fear. He is the one who should make you tremble. He will keep you safe. And I just thought, again, it's fun to discuss them, and there's a lot of different places we could go with it. I'm not trying to summarize it all. Well, you shouldn't, that's not. But I do think if I could circle back on one thing from last week, I think hopefully whether you land on the more conspiratorial side or you don't, we shouldn't live in fear. We should not live in a spirit of fear. We shouldn't be quick to call everything into suspicion. And maybe I'll say one last thing. We need to kind of land the plane. But as you were talking about, you mentioned a phrase I like. It's talking about think critically. Mm-hmm. I had several people that would land more on the conspiratorial side after our last podcast. But I just think people need to think way more critically. Mm-hmm. And so I have a thought, and I'll let you push back and we'll land. Mm-hmm. I completely agree. That is actually one thing that I appreciate about those that would maybe lean more towards conspiracy theories is I think we are definitely in a day and age that lacks critical thinking. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, we've had conversations ad nauseum about echo chambers and tribalism and binary thinking, and we just get stuck and we don't think critically through all that. I think probably again, not to get all spiritual, if somebody was give a pastoral, it's be intentional to prioritize where you give the bulk of your energy of your critical thinking.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Think critically about everything, but spend most of your time thinking critically about what matters.
Yeah.
Think critically about how culture is influencing your spiritual walk. Think critically through how you're navigating your most deep and intimate relationships. Mm-hmm. Think critically about what's sabotaging your prayer life. Think critically about what is influencing your affection and love for Jesus if you're a follower of Jesus. Think critically about how political affiliations around you might be filtering into your thinking and philosophy. Spend most of your time thinking critically about the things that are going to help you flourish and love well. Mm-hmm. Spend most of the time thinking critically about the things that are robbing your courage and filling you with fear. Does that make sense? I think that would be my only thing. Yes, think critically, but also pay attention to what you're spending most of your time thinking about.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. I think it's the classic pendulum thing. Believe everything you hear, and then a lot of the conspiracy people would say, oh, you're just a sheep, which, by the way, if you're a Christ follower and use sheep as an insult, that's a really weird insult.
Yeah, true. Yes.
Because
that's very true.
We are sheep of a shepherd. We're called, it's just, I'll encourage you. You're a Christ follower, use that word. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But you pendulum swing all the way to the other side where you think so critically that everything is fake, that nothing is real, that it's not healthy. Mm-hmm. I think there's somewhere in the middle to land and be reasonable. Mm-hmm. I think that's, when it comes to conspiracies, whether they're true or not, I think thinking about them, just be reasonable.
Yeah.
Be critical, reasonably.
Yeah, that's good. And
It's good.
because I also think, not to bleed the stone on this point, but I think theology could be this too. But whether it's conspiracy theories or theology, I think there's some things that tickle our intellectual fancy, and the reason we like to focus on them is because it's outside of our control and doesn't require action.
It's good.
Because there's some things that are distraction that I'm thinking critically about this, but really
What
there's
does that
nothing I
actually
can do
matter?
about that. Yeah. But if I think critically about my character, that actually is something that I am responsible and beholden to take action in.
Yes.
And so also like think the most critically about the things that are actually in your control.
Right.
That's
Like,
so good.
you know, as a follower of Jesus, like I mean, maybe that's more of my thing is like, I mean, whatever the government does, it's not like I don't care. I care, but my job is to be salt and light where I am and to serve and change the world.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, but what if the government? What if they are?
Yeah.
Governments are going to come and fall and rise and tumble, and like, I mean, I hope they do well. I'm going to vote and going to do my job, but like, what? That's not going to consume me because that doesn't control my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. I think that's good. I think when conspiracies stop being a hobby and start being your life, you stepped over the line.
Yeah.
Reel
Yep.
it back in.
It's been
So
a fun
fun.
conversation as always. All right, write us in. Let us know your thoughts. Take a moment to review on iTunes, Apple, and until next week, we'll see you then.